Welcome to another patch breakdown. If you are watching this, it means you are one of our loyal patrons. So as always, we love and appreciate you guys. You're what keeps us going. Today we got Stephen Lee, aka Project 32.
Yo, what
Stephen,
up?
how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Doing great. How about you?
Excellent. Oh, I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for being willing to do this and walking us through this amazing patch. Steven just played the December 5th mod nights, and so if you caught the stream, then you'll know this set was absolutely face melting. It was incredible. I'm super excited to kind of do a deeper dive into it. But yeah. Steven, he makes you make dance music, man. You do it really well. You know, you're part of the Untitled Beat Collective. You're streaming every Friday on Twitch with Basement State, and you're always pushing out those dancey jams, man. And I love it. So let's maybe start. I don't know how you want to start this, but maybe just kind of walk us through all the different gear you're using, because there's quite a few different things.
Yeah, there's a few things on here.
All right.
I guess I would say I would start with the Digitag, because I would say this is like the hub of all of this. This is what's like organizing all my patterns, all the different MIDI tracks. Like this is my MIDI sequencer.
Okay, so are you sequencing then? Because like you also clearly have a monologue and a Mother 32. And you have your modular as well, and all of those have like internal sequencers. But then, are you still doing all of like the main sequencing from the Digitech?
Yeah, it's I can walk through each one really quickly.
Yeah.
So Digitech sequences Mother 32. I don't like using the sequencer on this thing.
Yeah,
if I'm
it's
being
terrible.
honest.
It's terrible. It's a great sounding synth, but that sequencer is awful.
Yeah, and JP08, same deal. I don't like to use the sequencer on here. Like I remember I tried to even I couldn't even figure out how to properly use it. And so I just said, fuck it. I'm just going to use the Digitech.
Totally.
And the best thing about this is because with the Digitech, I actually sometimes will set up multiple of the MIDI tracks to send to the same MIDI channel, which should be channel 3 for this one. So that way I can stack chords.
Oh, excellent. That's so sick. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, and then
that's a cool little trick.
Yeah, and then the monologue also sequenced by Digitech. I do use the internal sequencer for the motion control, which is basically like automation within its own sequencer.
Oh, okay. But you mainly still sequence it off the Digitech.
Yeah, all the note information is coming from the Digitech.
Oh, wait, even within the modular? Because I see you have your Renee and you have your Renee patched up.
Yeah, actually, let me see if I can. So with the modular here, the Renee, I use it all the time, mainly for the arpeggios. Like you'll hear this thing if I start it.
Oh god, so good.
Dude, this filter is like my favorite. It's
what filter is that?
It's like the Doppler A102.
Oh, okay, it's just a Doppler's filter. Wow, it sounds amazing. I mean, Doppler's great. They do everything. Everything they do is like super simple, but it's exactly what you need.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess I don't even know how to talk about all this shit.
I know. I feel that after you've constructed like this crazy complex patch, it's like I don't even know what's going on anymore, right? So I totally get that. But wait, so this might be a good time then. Because I kind of want to talk about also like some of the specific sounds. Because you started that, so you obviously have the arpeggio going. But I remember, I specifically want to deviate a little bit and talk about the percussion, because I know at the beginning of your set, I was immediately like gripped because you had that like. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a clock,
it is a clock sample.
Okay,
I saw someone in chat said it was like sounds like someone's tape cassette is stuck or something.
Yeah, no, it sounded like that. It sounded like a clock. It sounded like maybe it was like a gun being loaded. I wasn't sure. So, oh man, that's such a sick sound. Did you record that yourself, or did you get it from did you already have that sample like on your hard drive or something?
No, I actually like a year ago I went digging for like industrial sample packs.
Sure. Yeah,
and it was just something I found.
Oh man, well, it sounds amazing. So Oh man, I don't mean to jump around so much, but there's just so much like to talk about. But I figure since we're talking about your percussion, uh, how many different patterns are you using on the Dig Attack, and like how many different sample banks, and like just kind of walk me through what's going on there.
So yeah, usually this is actually the samples I'm using. I have this project saved where it's just like I load a bunch of samples that I like. This is how I actually get my streams going.
Mm,
It's like quick access. I don't have to go sample diving within the Digitech. Like
mm,
everything I would like is already there.
nice.
And so I would just start on the first pattern. Literally, I just throw in a kick and I'll just patch some shit up. And I'm like, all right, that sounds cool. And then just throw some like hi hats on and whatever.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you start with that kick.
Yeah,
you
I start with that kick.
Throw a kick pattern on, and then you just build on top of that. Nice, right on. So let's hear some of those drums, man, off the Dig Attack.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, I started the set with this clock sound, and this sound actually stays pretty consistent throughout the whole set because I think like some sort of like uniformity between different parts of the set is like really important to keep the flow going.
Absolutely, it creates this level of cohesiveness.
Right, it's like a reoccurring theme almost.
Totally. Nice.
And we got some of that hi hats.
Okay, so you got those two different hi hats. Nice.
Yep. So yeah, the ass clap, as the Friday streaming crew likes to call it.
Amazing.
And you got the
I kept seeing people throw that phrase in the chat, and I was like, "What the hell are they talking about?"
Yeah, so it's a little inside joke from the streaming crew.
Gotcha.
And let's see what else I have. This weird like, I don't even know what that is. Like a white noise hit.
Okay.
Filter noise.
Sounds good though. Oh man.
But yeah, this is honestly as complex as my Digitech really gets.
Really? So are you kind of using like this same set of samples through the whole set, or is that are there different banks of samples that you're using across multiple patterns?
Different across multiple patterns.
Okay, gotcha. So I'm curious because anytime someone uses a Dig Attack or really any Electron box, I'm always extremely curious as to like how you perform on the Dig Attack. Like how are you using like the fills? Like how are you using patterns?
Yeah.
Like how are you performing this?
Right. Yeah. So I guess that's I could talk about the composition. I like how I compose the whole set because it's all based from the Digitech.
Excellent.
So
okay, walk me through it, man.
It's literally just pattern to pattern to pattern. Like each pattern is a different part of the set.
Okay.
And each pattern will have its, like you said earlier, it has its own bank of sounds for each one.
Sure.
Although I do carry some over from the previous pattern just to, like I said earlier, keep that level of cohesiveness.
Right. Totally.
And then like in terms of performance, it's literally it's all muting and unmuting parts.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
And then occasionally the fill button.
Okay, nice. Oh yeah, oh man, yeah. I caught some of those snare fills during the
those
set.
little...
They were filthy, man. Okay, nice. So that isn't too. That's actually like not crazy complicated. It's nice. You keep it simple, keep it easy. You can't get super
I only
lost.
have two hands for like all this.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, that's super interesting. So then, like, that being said, so with the Dig Attack, you're just like muting, unmuting, and you have those different patterns. So then, how are you using the other gear to perform?
Right. So the Moog is probably my favorite piece of gear. Actually, when I first got this thing, I didn't really vibe with it for like a few years, and then like I played my first mod nights with the UTLD takeover, and then after I used it for baseline that time. And like after this show, everyone's like, "Yo, what the fuck? What did you use for that bass line?"
And you were like, "Well, shit, the people loved it, so I love it."
Well, I guess I'm not selling this thing.
Oh, that's so funny. But I totally feel what you're saying, man. I've bought and sold the Mother 32 like way too many times, like since it came out, because I totally have that like love-hate relationship with it. Like it sounds great, but there's parts of it that are like really esoteric and just like a pain in the ass to use, like the sequencer. So I totally feel what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a reason why I use it just for bass lines. Like I throw it on a pulse wave and just give it a little filter envelope, and that's it. Like I don't.
So
most of the time I don't go with the patch bay.
Yeah, I noticed that you don't have that thing patched up. Okay, nice. So you're keeping it simple. So that's kind of running the bass lines for the entire set then.
You're right. Yep.
Okay, nice. So nothing too crazy, right? And then just like you said, just a pulse wave, and you do you have like any modulation going on in that, or is it just like as basic of a patch as you can get?
It's just pulse wave with a little PWM on it.
Oh, amazing. Simple. I mean, it's simple yet effective, right? I mean, it's a pulse wave with filtered with that pulse wave modulation, but like it's still a Moog synth at the end of the day, so it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's just fat.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say about it. It's
That's
just fat.
Man. It's fat. Oh hell yeah! Show me some of those bass lines, man. I gotta hear that. Just solo it out.
A little fatness. So whenever I the way I bring in and out my bass lines is like I'll go from one pattern. I'll start one. I'll have the volume all the way down with the resonance up, because with the Moog like ladder filter, when you crank the resonance, the low end drops out, so it's almost like you're using a high pass filter on it at times.
Oh yeah, excellent.
And so it's like a subtle way to bring in a bass line without like giving you in your face bass right away.
Yeah, nice. Okay, no, that's a great way to do that.
Yeah, and it's literally the most like simple things I do is just messing around with the filter cutoff.
Dude, like I said earlier, man, it's simple but effective, and like it sounds really damn good.
Right. Yeah. So like usually I'll have like my hands on multiple like filter cutoff knobs, and as I'm unmuting percussion tracks, leading up to bringing in the kick drum to the drop, if you will.
Yeah.
See, actually, I'll just. So right now with the resonance up, I have a little bit past 12 o'clock. Like I said, like that low end is a little, it's almost like there's a low shelf on there, but it just drops the low end a little bit. And as I progress through unmuting the parts and building up, I'll take the resonance all the way back down.
Ooh, so you'll just like time that with when you bring in the kick, and then it like feels like a drop. Oh man, that's so sick.
Yeah, I'm having a little trouble timing it right now because there's, like I said, it was like a little delay between the video and audio.
No, you're
right
good.
Here.
I feel that, man.
I had to set a manual like 1,000 millisecond delay in my Ableton master track for this. So everything's like throwing me off right now.
Oh man, no, we know how that goes for sure. That's cool, man. So that's a really cool way to use the resonance. I don't know if that's like a common known thing, but I personally have never seen or heard of anyone.
Yeah, it was
kind of using the resonance.
It was
like
something
that.
I kind of came to mind because when I first started playing out live, I would have my mixer with me, so which I can actually just EQ through my mixer.
Sure.
But then since I started streaming, I'm actually doing everything through Ableton. I don't want to use Ableton I want to use it as little as I can.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Totally. I use Ableton the same way because I have the ES9 audio interface for my modular, so everything has to go through Ableton. But yeah, I try to use like Ableton as like just my mixer, like just for like leveling and panning. Right. Like I don't want to like if I could do something with like the filters on a voice, I would rather do it that way rather than like EQing it inside of Ableton.
Right. Yeah. Like I won't go into Ableton unless it's like something that's like really jumping out at me that I can't fix within the hardware.
Totally.
Like some sort of like peak resonance that the filter itself is causing.
Yeah, no, totally. Or like maybe if I need to do like a little compression here and there on a part or two. Yeah, I feel that. Okay, so actually, quick tangent. Or maybe this is might be just the next thing we talk about, but because you were talking about Ableton and we're talking about mixing, and another thing that really jumped out at me with your set is the mix just sounded fucking pristine. Like it sounded so good, so clean. Everything that you needed to get across, like with the low end and the kick, it was like right there. But like everything just felt so clean and so balanced. So like how much, to your point, because you said you want to use Ableton as little as possible. So in this particular set, how much of that is like done in Ableton, like with EQing or compression, and how much are you doing that just like in the hardware?
Right. Okay. So in terms of EQ, it's very minimal in Ableton. Like for the most part, I'll throw a high pass on the modular, maybe up to about 80 or to 100 hertz, just so I can get rid of that low end rumble, so it doesn't interfere with like the bass lines from the Moog or the kicks.
Totally, yeah, because your kick and your Moog are doing most of the low end, so yeah, you don't really need it or want it in other places. So,
right.
Yeah, okay, right on.
Right, and then leveling, I do it all within the hardware, of course. And I think the biggest struggle for me is to like, actually get my percussion parts to sound right in
Oh,
terms of
really?
level. Because it's kind of hard for me to. I find myself struggling going from pattern to pattern. There's some sort of like
Mm,
inconsistency in levels between those, and
yeah.
so like I'll always
Especially when
jump
you're
from like
switching between different samples.
exactly.
Yeah.
So when I'm actually after I finish like composing it, I'll actually spend a day to sit down and actually just mix everything and check levels.
Okay.
And
Nice.
when I do that, I like will jump from one pattern back and forth to another, and just to see how similar they sound in terms of
Right. Just
level
like
and
A B
mix.
it and then mix
Yeah.
it. Nice. Okay. So there's a lot of thought put into that then. Okay. So you bring up composition, and I do want to dive into some more of the sounds, but since you brought it up, uh, composition. When you make this set, or really any set, live performance, any stream you do, whatever, anytime you're playing live, uh, do you have a very like specific structure in mind? Because the way you have this set up, at least from what we've seen so far, it seems like you're really able to just kind of jam. It seems like you
Right.
can't really go wrong with it, with any sort of arrangement or structure. And it seems like it can all be done very much like in the moment based on what you're feeling. So how much of this is like pre-planned, and how much of it is just you jamming?
I would say a good bit of it is very much so pre-planned.
Mm,
Like when I started writing the set for this mod nights, I actually trashed like 3 or 4 takes of it and just
wow.
unpatched everything. I was like, no, that doesn't sound right.
Whoa, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was it was one of those days where I just like couldn't come up with anything.
Sure, I feel
But
you. Okay, so
yeah,
so it's very much like, okay, we'll start with the bass, and then we'll bring in the hi hat, and then we'll bring in the kick, and then we'll bring the snare. And we'll ride on this for like a few minutes, and we'll bring the lead. So it's very much like planned
it's very
out,
structured in my
structured.
head, but the way I have it patched up specifically in the modular, it's still very jammable.
Totally. So if like in the moment you're like, oh, I should do this, it's like, yeah, fuck it, you could do that. Like you're
Right.
not like tied to this structure you created for yourself.
Right, like for instance, I think there was like the transition between the first part and the second part of my set where I actually had the Moog going
Mm,
and it was just doing its thing, and I wanted to try like a way of fading out the bass, but
mm.
also keeping it interesting because I was fading it into what a lot of people call the donk. So I was going to like that
Ooh.
like really deep dark techno part of the set.
Ooh, wait. What's doing that?
That is oh shit, let me see if I can. That's Platts.
Okay,
Platts.
we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we can
Keep
get
going
into
with what
that.
you're saying.
But yeah, I was saying for what was I talking about? The improbability part of it. The improv part of it. That was improbability
Yeah.
is not a word.
I like it though. I liked it.
Yeah, and this is another thing I really like about the Moto 32 is like this mix knob. It defaults to mixing from the pulse wave to just pure noise,
Oh,
just
I
white
know. It's
noise,
so sick.
and like that was
Mm.
something I was like, oh wait, I can just do that and use this as a transition to the next part,
Yeah, nice.
and as a way to fade out the bass line.
Right. Oh man, that's great. That's great. No, that is another thing I really like about the Mother. It's so sick, having that noise in the mix.
Yeah, like that is just like the fact that I'm able to do that is just because like I keep it all simple. I don't use a lot of the patch points unless I really need to,
Yeah.
which
Oh
I
man.
feel like kind of goes against the point of having a semi-modular piece of equipment.
No, I mean you use
But
it however you need to use it,
it's
right?
what,
I
yeah,
mean, it doesn't need to be patched up. I mean, that I would actually argue is the purpose of semi-modular. It doesn't have to be
yeah,
patched up,
exactly.
So, and and like you're using the Moog really. I mean, as we've repeated again and again, you're using it really simplistically, but like you're using the things that are provided on the front panel, and you're just using those in really effective ways, which is awesome. Um, it just great because it just goes to show like you don't have to like do all this crazy patching to like make the Mother 32 cool. Like it's just out of the box. It's already like a great sounding
Right.
synth. So that's awesome. Okay, so walk me through some of the other sounds. So obviously the Dick Attack, like you said, it's doing the drums. It's kind of like the brain, the hub of this setup. The Moog is doing the bass. So what's like what let's like jump to the monologue before
Sure.
Going any further. So what's the monologue? What's its primary function throughout the set?
So this monologue I actually just picked up off Milo, like not maybe like 2 weeks ago.
Milo, my boy,
Yeah, shout
Oxia,
outs to
always
Milo.
always selling gear, dude. But
But
anyway.
yeah, so like I'm still learning this thing, so it's very much still foreign to me.
Okay.
And so I only used this for one sound in the whole set, and it was towards the very end.
Oh, okay, nice. And so
Yeah,
what sound is that then? Let's hear that.
it's a little. Oh, hold on, I gotta go to the last pattern. Okay. It's like this. It's like some FME thing that's happening.
It sounds very like it sounds like a Foreman, like
Yeah.
it's very vowel heavy. Ooh, that's dirty, man. Man, I love that sound, and I love ooh, nice. That sounds so
Yeah, so
good.
that was the sound that it was doing
Oh,
at the
I
end of the
love
set.
that. I love that. And I love, okay, at the end of the set, like the way you ended it, you kind of, if I recall, you took like that monologue and you were messing with a bunch of the settings and like turned it for like the last like 10 seconds just to this little like noise jam almost.
That was actually the ensemble oscillator going into the mimeophone, and I was just fucking around with the mimeophone.
Shit. Okay, wait, so that's a great segue. Move me to the modular, man. What's going on in there? So you talked about the Plats, but like I'm curious. I want to hear all the different sounds that you have going on your modular.
Yeah, and so the way I have it patched up is similar to I still like to keep it simple. Like I'm not
Yeah,
doing any
I
like
love it.
complex like feedback patching
Okay.
or weird, not weird pat. That's not weird. Feedback's not weird. It's tight.
Love it.
But yeah, I like to keep it simple, which means I get to retain like the jammability of it throughout the set.
Right.
And
So then is there not a whole lot of like modulation happening? It's just like different voices you have patched up?
yeah, most of them is just different voices. I think I have three voices going on for this
Okay.
one. It's Platts, the Dixie 2 plus, and then ensemble oscillator.
Nice. All great oscillators.
Right. Yep. And they're all. Let's see. I have these cable ties, and it's hard for me to tell where my cables are routed.
But dude, I love the cable management, man. It looks nice, and I'm sure that makes it really easy to play too. Like without having this like spaghetti everywhere, it's like you're actually able to like reach the knobs you need to reach. So
Let's see. Right. Okay. So the Dixie 2, I mainly use this just for like arpeggios within the set. So
okay, is that what the Renee is sequencing? Because I know earlier you said the Renee is doing. Okay,
and that's when you saw the little Renee solo
Oh, okay.
that I did.
Yeah.
And it's a little technique that I came up with last year, which is something I've never seen anyone do it. I was like, wait, this is so simple. Why hasn't anyone done this?
Oh, well, what is it? Hit me with it. Hit me with
So
it. How do you do this?
I have it stepping through. I would hold one of the steps, and then I would lock it so it doesn't advance to the next steps. And since I have a scale set for it, I can just turn the knob, and every note that it goes through will still be in key.
Oh, excellent. So you can just like play it solo just by turning the knob.
Yeah. And like
Oh,
from doing this
man.
so often, like I kind of have an idea of how much I want to turn to get to a certain note.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. That's so sick. That's an awesome way to do that.
Right. And because like it still steps through each note in between the ones I want to go to, it almost gives it like an auto-tune kind of vibe.
Yeah. No, it sounds like a Kanye West like auto-tuned vocal run or just like any like keyboard solo from the 80s. That's totally
Right.
the vibe that I'm getting. And so that's
and
awesome, man.
Yeah, and I also had it patched up to be able to do pitch bends with it.
Oh, how are you doing that?
I'm using the Intelligent Quadrat, and it's just one of the channels with no input going into it, but it's just the output of one of the channels going into the FM input on the Dixie.
Oh, nice. So you're just setting a DC voltage just straight from the Quadrat to the. Oh, that's so cool. That's a really
so
cool
it's
idea.
Like, I think I have it set to be a whole octave.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's so cool. Dang, that's awesome. For those of you watching who don't know, if you take an output from an attenuator without anything going into the input, It'll just send out just a straight DC voltage, and that voltage is then dictated by the position of that knob. So that's fucking sick, man. That's awesome. And what waveform are you using on the Dixie? Just by the way,
Sawtooth, my favorite. My
really?
baby.
That's your favorite out of the Dixie? Not the Pulse. The Pulse
No.
is easily my favorite.
No, here's the thing. Because I use the pulse wave on the Moog for bass lines,
Fair.
I don't want to use two pulse waves because they just sound too similar.
Totally. No, I feel that.
So,
I feel that. You gotta
That's
have that
really
variety.
that's honestly like the real reason why.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, right on. Okay, so that's the Dixie. So we were talking about the Plats just now. What are you doing with the Plats, and how's that running?
Plats was for that one part of my set where I think Nick said it was a cursed kick. Let's see. So it's this part.
Wait, so is that kick coming from?
That kick coming from the Digitech.
Okay, because that kick fucked me up when I heard it, man. That shit was so deep, and like I felt that in my soul.
Yeah. So for that little like plucky sound, that's Plats.
Okay, nice.
And it's Plats going into the stereo dipoles or SSF stereo dipole.
Oh, nice. Great filter. Great filter.
Yeah. And it's being triggered by PAMs.
Okay.
And
nice.
PAMs is actually sending out like random in time triggers.
Oh. Wow. Nice. It doesn't
so, like,
sound
the pattern,
random.
right? Because I think I have it set to about like it skips maybe 20 or 25% of the triggers being sent out.
Oh, okay.
That's how I have it set up.
So it's mostly like a pattern, but there's just a slight variance within that pattern that keeps it interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
So it's like somewhat predictable, but still also unpredictable.
Totally. Man, that's such a cool sound. It's so percussive. What algorithm on the Plats? Because I see you're using one of the green algorithms, which I have a Plats too. And so the green algorithms, like it's not one of the percussive algorithms. Yet here you are making it sound really like fucking percussive.
Yeah. I don't know which one it's called, but it's the second green one from the top.
Okay. Yeah. All the Plats users will know what's up, man. I'm catching your drift.
Yeah. Let's see. To give it for modulation for this, I actually have the second output from Renee, the non-quantized output.
Oh, really?
Yeah, going into the timbre input or CV input on Plats.
Wait, so do you have nothing going into the volt per octave then?
Volt per octave, I do. It's pitch data from the Digitech.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow,
media.
that's fucking crazy. But okay,
Yeah.
no, that makes sense. That makes way more sense.
No, I'm using Renee here as a modulation source rather than as a
Got
pitch
it.
source.
I understand. Okay, nice. That's cool. Well, it sounds amazing. And what are you using for that? Because there's obviously some reverb and delay going on there. What's doing that?
Right. So that is I believe that should be that's microclouds.
Oh,
Shout
nice.
out to After Later for this one.
Shout out After Later, man. They make all the great MI clones, man. They kill the game, man. It's
Dude,
great.
they really do. So yeah, it's microclouds into mimeophone into a 2 HP verb, and then out.
Oh wow, so that's like
this
a
is
really
actually
crazy effects chain. It's very wet, that sound.
Right. Yeah. So this little section of my modular is actually like a master's effect chain within the modular. So I mix all the different sound sources through the quad VCA, and then through a single output, it goes through microclouds into mimeophone, into verb, and then out.
Oh, nice.
So
then
everything
your
within
VCA
here
is
runs through like that.
It's like a submixer to your effects. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, dude. Wait, so then are you doing that in this patch? So are all your sounds, if you want to, you could patch all your sounds through those effects using the VCA?
All the sounds are going through the effects at all times.
Excellent. Okay. That's awesome, man. That's a great way to do that, using the VCA as like a little submixer to the effects. I mean, it sounds really good, and those effects.
And like because I'm running throughout the whole set, they're all being ran through the same effects. with relatively same settings throughout each pattern that I'm switching through,
Mm.
it adds that level of cohesiveness again.
Yeah, nice, man. That's
So-
awesome. I love the way you're like thinking about like set flow and cohesiveness and how to kind of change things up on it, but also keep these like familiar elements throughout the set. Because I definitely felt that when listening to it. It was very like you obviously had different parts, but the whole thing just felt like this constant stream, and it was all very unified. So what you're doing, you're doing it to great effect, and it's working really well.
Thank you.
That's awesome, man. So, okay, so we talked about the Dixie, talked about the plastic, talked about some of those effects, we talked about the sequencing. You said you were also using the ensemble oscillator.
Yeah.
RMS. What are you doing with that?
So that is just the basic minor chord.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, this is like how I like to use the ensemble. I don't patch it up too often. Just bare bones, just whatever's on the panel I use.
Nice. So it's just running that minor chord, and you just kind of bring that in throughout the set. Like
I'm running the minor chord. I have
changing.
a very slow LFO going into the root CV.
Okay.
And so that's what's causing that little like sweeping kind of motion in the pitch.
Oh, so that's just the root being changed, but the rest of the chord is staying the same.
Right, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Like with the root knob. God, I love the ensemble.
Dude,
It sounds so good.
sick, man.
And yeah, I like to use this as more of a filler of frequencies. There's a like, I think the reason why people think my mix sounds good is because each individual instrument here, each sound source, I have it fill up a specific part of the spectrum for frequency.
Smart.
So like, there's no major clashing going on.
Right. So do you mean by that like you're talking about like the way you filter things and the way like the octave that each voice is living in? Okay, nice. That's awesome. And that's a great way to do it. I always try to get that in my head, like, filters and like as much as they are a sound shaping tool, they're also essentially just EQ.
Yep.
So it's definitely a big mixing tool.
Yeah,
as well.
and like, I don't know if a lot of people know, but I'm actually I work, my main job is like I'm a sound engineer. Like I mix live shows.
Okay, so you have the ear for it then already.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I still trust my own ears.
I don't know, man. I mean, your mix was sounding amazing on Saturday, so at least from my perspective, you got the ear, man. So right on. Wow, that's super cool. Okay, so that's the modular. And what is going on that JP08? Is that what that is?
Yeah, the little Roland JP08.
All right. So what are you doing there? Because earlier you were talking about like some stacked chords and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so this thing is pretty consistent throughout that whole set.
Mm-hmm.
So I start at the beginning.
Ooh, that sounds good.
And that's pretty much it. Like, it does like this little 2-note thing throughout most of the set. And if I move to the next pattern, yeah, and then let's see, it disappears for a little bit, but it comes back at the end of the set as chords.
Oh,
And
so
this thing is so lovely, so swirly.
Dude, I know that sounds so like hypnotic and
Yeah.
sounds so sounds like I'm just like spinning through time, dude. It's
I am
crazy.
cheating a little bit here. I'm using a guitar rig in Ableton as an effect on the JP08.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask actually the effects. Okay, nice. That's not cheating, man. Ableton is just another tool in your toolkit, you know?
Yeah, I'm using the Roland Space Echo emulation and guitar rig for this guy.
Oh, nice. So very, very Roland heavy sound to that.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
But yeah, that's
amazing.
that's it. It just does little notes and some chords.
Shit, man, that sounds awesome. God, I just want to keep, hearing those chords run forever. That's
Yeah,
so
the resonance
so
on this
good.
thing though.
Ooh, ooh, that's nasty, man. That's awesome. It's so it's such an aggressive resonance there.
Yeah, it's pretty gritty if I really push it.
Yeah, I mean, I could hear it there, like even just like the way the sound was like clipping a little and distorting. Like it is really dirty, but like in a really nice way.
Yeah,
Nice,
this
man.
just like the Mother 32. This was a piece of gear I had collecting dust for like 2 years
Mm,
since after I bought it,
mm,
and then for whatever reason I decided to bust it out.
yeah. Well, I mean, great choice because it sounds awesome, man. Um, shit. Okay. Well, uh, dude, that is awesome. I love the way you're using all the different sounds, the way you're performing and all this different piece of gear. Like it's amazing, man. The way you're doing all this.
Thank you.
So before we kind of wrap up here and do our little jam, is there anything else like specific, like any other cool tricks or anything unique you think is part of this patch that maybe we haven't covered that you think is worth exploring?
Not necessarily in terms of the gear, but in terms of when I'm writing the set,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have when I'm writing. I start from one zone, like one part of the set at a time. I don't have a direction as to where I'm going when I first start, like at all.
Okay, so you kind of you're saying like, okay, this is like part one or track one, if you will.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you build out just track one before
Right.
you do anything else.
Yeah, and I don't even think about track 2 as I'm building track 1.
Nice.
And in that
Okay.
way, when I do move on to track 2, I can think about the transition from track 1 to track 2 by utilizing
Excellent.
the similar sounds.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. And I think that's something that like I try to do, but I'm not very good at it because my mind is always wandering and always thinking about like the next thing. And so like for me, that is like probably personally like my point of weakness is those transitions. So like I love how you're able to like focus in on just like one thing, and then kind of that helps you with those transitions. That's awesome. That's a great point. And I think a great reminder, for those of us who struggle with transitions, to just focus in on like what you're doing in that moment and just focus on that part. Nice, that's awesome. I mean, like while we're talking about like the writing and composition, just like the melodies, just the chords, and just the writing is amazing. Like it just sounds so.
I'm gonna have to
good.
be honest here. I don't know shit about music theory.
I was gonna ask actually. That was gonna be my next question. Is like how much theory background you have? Okay, so then how do you go about writing all this shit? Like,
I grew up.
logically?
So I grew up playing the violin, and
Okay,
that
so you
for
have
me
some
gave me
theory background then.
some theory, but not. It's like the most basic thing. Like I can read sheet
Sure.
music, and that's it.
Sure.
But I think I would learn how to play things by ear a lot, especially with my guitar as well. Like I just try to figure things out by ear, and I think because I do that all the time, it helps me with writing melodies and chords and other parts like that. It's like, oh, I think that sounds good. Let's just go with it.
Nice. Okay, no, that's great. That's great. And the reason I was curious is because, especially since you're doing a lot of your sequencing on the Dig Attack, it's like you have to be very purposeful with like the melodies you write,
Right.
because like the way I sequence and a lot of way people sequence is, using like sliders or knobs, the Eurorack. So it's like you don't really have to think super hard about like, okay, I'm gonna play an A here, and then I'm gonna play an F sharp here, and then a B. It's like you just kind of like turn the shit until it sounds good, right?
Yeah, like I'll go into the Digitech, I'll go into MIDI channel, throw on the keyboard, and I'll just like noodle with it and be like, okay,
Yeah.
this is working. I can
Okay.
go with this.
Nice. Okay, great. No, that's awesome. And it works because those melodies you're pulling out sounding fucking excellent, man. So good. Every single part of this set, from the drums to the sequencing to the timbres of the sound to the melody to the transitions, everything, man. It just all falls together so perfectly, and it just sounds so damn nice. So,
Man, thank you.
no, thank you, man. Great shit, man. And thank you again for taking the time to kind of walk us through it. So we'll kind of just do a little jam here, kind of see how it all sounds together, and
Sure.
then that'll be it.
Yeah, actually,
Ladies and gentlemen, again, Stephen Lee, Project 32. What were you just saying?
Oh, and I was gonna say I'll take us to the last part of
Oh,
that
excellent.
set.
That sounds
So
great, man. Whatever you want.